Greetings, friends. Greetings from Jerusalem. I hope everyone is doing well and everybody is still hanging on and tolerating this time confusion that we're all in. So if you don't get it right or you're not sure, that's fine. We also don't have it right at Sabil. It's very confusing because it's my kids' school is on the Palestinian time. Some of us at Sabil are on Israeli time. All our mobile phones automatically switch on Israeli time unless you have to program them in a different way. So extremely confusing. Not very much locally, because I think we can, that's just an added sentence when we're booking an appointment. But also organizing international calls and meetings becomes even more complicated because everybody is also on their own time zone and everybody has their own time difference. I mean, I know that this is not the major problems of the world. We have much more complicated issues to deal with, like global warming, human rights violation. I mean, the Palestinian issue, nuclear weapons. I don't know. There's so many things that are taking place, the injustice, the economic injustice. But that's a matter I think we can deal with as human beings. But I think that we'll leave it for the most of the incompetent world leadership around the world. So just as people are continue to come in, I'd like to welcome you again to another Sabil Kumi Now session. I just want to share a story. Some of the people at Sabil meeting already know this because we've shared it last Thursday during the Sabil service, the Sabil weekly Ministry of the Word Bible study meeting. So I've shared the story. So actually it is the idea of starting the time difference, to have a separate time difference from the Israeli time difference. That was a very big action, non-violent action that took place during the first Intifada. The first Intifada, or the first Palestinian uprising of 1987, was predominantly non-violent and took different forms of creative resistance. And one day they've announced that tomorrow we're not changing the time. Israel is changing the time, but we will do it after a week because we are a different state and we decide when the time changes. And this really pissed off the Israelis. And I remember when we were little kids, at that time we used to go to school walking, and they would have checkpoints, military checkpoints, that they would stop everybody, whether you were an elderly, whether you were a young person. They did not really care, and they would check your time. If you were on Palestinian time, you get punished. And if you are on Israeli time, they'll let you go in. They'll let you just pass by without any punishment and without any harassment. And I remember it was because we were making a statement of being on Palestinian time. So it's like you'd have some time to change the time, when you are when you're at the checkpoint. But I remember the majority, if not everybody, made it sure that we remained on Palestinian time, and then they would break your watch. And we were little kids at that time, and watches were such a big deal. It would be like a Christmas gift or a birthday gift. It's the era that it is, you get a gift once a year if you're lucky. It's different from the very consumer cultures that we're living in as of today, or many of us sadly are living in. I want to remember that many people are still in poverty, and every second there's a child dying from malnutrition. But at least for most of the global north, or people who are, I mean, it's in most countries now, there's more access to goods for a bigger variety of people. And I remember they used to break our watches, and it was very painful for little kids, because it's not like your parents, you go home and the parents say, oh, good job, you made this position. They did not like us to be punished, and they did not like us to lose our watches and to be slapped around by the Israeli army. So that was the case of it. So many of us who grew up during the first Intifada, it was such an important thing to be on Palestinian time. It's like we paid the price, we got slapped multiple times, we paid a hefty price for being on Palestinian time. So that's why we are more stubborn to be on Palestinian time. And during the Oslo peace process, actually, Palestinians and Israelis said this is stupid. We'll all be on the same time. And for a number of years, both Palestinians and Israelis remained on Palestinian time. And just after, it's in the last multiple years or last decade when things have continued to escalate and there has been no peace process, Palestinians started to move to a different time. Now, I think we're more governed by the time of Ramadan because you get an extra hour of sleep, less hour of work if you are on, if you remain on winter time. So that's the period of the time. So it's not like as a noble cause, it's a noble cause for people to stay in bed an extra hour, which is fine. I understand it's difficult to be fasting, but that's the context for us in Palestine. So if you feel people who are just making a stand, yes, I'm on Palestinian time, that's the background of it. And most likely, as little kids, they got their watches broken and they got slapped multiple times, like myself. And so that's why we care about being on Palestinian time. So thank you for being on Palestinian time, or at least attending this meeting on Palestinian time. We very much appreciate it. Tomorrow is the Muslim Eid, and it's really difficult. The last day because it's public holidays. It's like Christmas Eve. So everybody is off tomorrow, and everybody's out doing last-minute holiday stuff. So it's also a very difficult year now. People are not in the mood of celebrations given the war and the genocide, and it's close to 43,000 people are either dead or still under the rubble or missing, and most likely dead as missing. 15,000 children. These are very scary numbers in any country. But if you also put them into the context of the Palestinian population, that's huge. That's huge for us. That's enormous, 5 nuclear bombs like Hiroshima have already been dropped over Gaza. It's one of the things. I was speaking with a friend of mine yesterday, and it was the whole community in the church. They were happy because they had dinner. A small falafel sandwich. So it was such an inhumane. I was speaking with some of the people who locked in on the old time or on the new time, on the summer time. That it's like for them, they are so happy because they had a sandwich, And we're speaking about people who are professionals, people who have built a career, people who have, who have lost all of their life savings, they've lost loved ones, they haven't showered for months, and just to find an adult, a professional adult, happy because he had a small piece of bread with falafel. It's in a way, it's like amazing how humans are so simple and so on. But when you look at the whole community being, deprived of essential, it's an engineered famine, as how they've mentioned it, of the basic lives. It was very heartbreaking for me. I couldn't honestly to continue the conversation with them because I know that they deserve better. That's not the way to treat people. That's not right. 7 months continuously of bombardment, attacks, violence, deprived of water, clean drinking water, no medication allowed, no painkillers, children who are having flus or, it is just, you can imagine how bad it is. People are even not able to mourn, it's somebody that we know who is on the board of Kairos, Palestine. His mother passed away. And it's so sad as if nothing has happened. They are so much into the death. Not something that has happened, but you'd expect somebody goes into, it's the passing, it is how you deal with pain and with death. It's a catastrophe. And I mean, it is for us in Palestine. I mean, this is Gaza. You are all following Gaza and the extremely difficult situation. But for you to understand what is also taking place, for example, in Jerusalem alone, in the last 3 months, 19 teenagers and Palestinians were killed. In the last 3 months, it's not like it's not on the news and so on, but it sounds like a peaceful city when you talk about 19 Palestinians who have been killed. And 77 people were sentenced in prison, and 58 people are in administrative detention. There's 40 bodies, people who have been shot, 40 Palestinians who have been shot. Israel continues to hold their bodies in the last since the last multiple years. So even the parents haven't went through the process of burying their children. 42 people got injured by live ammunition. 70 homes and buildings have been destroyed since the beginning of the year. That's in East Jerusalem alone. We're not speaking about, we're speaking about the small population for people who know the old city and the surrounding neighborhoods. 70 buildings, it's leaving hundreds of people without homes since the beginning of the year alone. We're not speaking about including last year. 40 people had decisions that they should not live anymore in Jerusalem, that they have been deported. 10,000 people infiltrated Al-Aqsa. Israeli settlers and Jewish extremists went to Al-Aqsa and did provocations. Almost 35 attacks by settlers on the communities in East Jerusalem alone. 3 Palestinians have received bans from traveling. 16 people are in home decision. There were arrests for them, mainly children, to remain in home and not to leave the home until they do it. And most scary is that 11 new settlement projects started in East Jerusalem. Everybody recognizes that the building of settlements is the main obstacle for peace. It is okay. You want to bomb Gaza, you can use the Hamas, October 7th. You want to attack, it is building 11 new communities to be built, Israeli settler communities of breach of international law in the last 3 months. These are also scary numbers. So I mean, we're speaking about a micro city of 300,000 people in that city. So it's a very frightening situation in East Jerusalem alone, given that most of the attention and most of the violence is taking place in Gaza. And we are expecting things to continue to deteriorate and the situation continue to become worsened. I mean, the month of April is an important month in Palestinian history. And also, I mean, it's for many Palestinians. If you are, I mean, this is also the month of commemorating the Armenian genocide for our Palestinian Armenians, who over 60% of them are descendants of Armenian survivors, which is a major issue. But also in the month of April, the 8th and the 9th of April, we Palestinians remember the big massacre of Deir Yassin. I mean, big, it is now we're talking about, there's different numbers that speak about how many people got killed in Deir Yassin, but it had them, most scholars believe that it was less than 100. But for us Palestinians, we were a peaceful community, and to listen and to hear about 100 people killed frightened the whole country. Now we talk about, on average, every day there's around 300 people getting killed, sadly, here in Palestine. In Gaza alone, on a daily basis, 300. But what caused Deir Yassin is what caused Palestinians to flee their Palestinian villages and towns around the world. around historical Palestine. People were afraid of organized rape, organized killings, and massacres that they would take place. All of the Israeli army, or it wasn't, it was all of the Zionist militias at that time. All they had to do is flee your houses, or you will have the same fate as Deir Yassin. And that is the week and this is the day that we as Palestinians remember, mark, commemorate the developments that have led to Nakba, which is the source of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, where 2/3 of historical Palestine no longer became Palestine, became a new state, and 2/3 of our people were forced, dispossessed, and forced to either to flee, or they fled out of fear for their lives, like refugees, like normal people. How normal people, if there's violence and there's attacks, they would worry for the well-being of their families and loved ones. So on this occasion, we want to still talk about Gaza. There is a very new documentary that have been released by a partner organization, Bisan. Actually, Bisan is the name of the town that our co-founder and the father of Palestinian liberation theology comes from. So that is the center that our friend that they have chosen for this organization. And I'm going to, if you give me a second. Okay. So it's a very short documentary, but it speaks about, it gives an update on the same tactics that were used in Deir Yassin are continuously being used against our communities in Palestine and in Gaza especially.
אנחנו מטילים מצור מוחלט על העיר עזה. אין חשמל, אין מזון, אין מים, אין דלק. הכל סגור. אנחנו נלחמים בחיות אדם ואנחנו נוהגים בהתאם.
Israel's blockade of food, water, and electricity on the people of Gaza is a repetitive military method used over the past 2 decades. This continuous war, the targeting of necessities of life and health in the Gaza Strip, caused a highly increasing number of displaced people, the constant closure of crossings, and the cutting of all basic humanitarian needs. This war caused massive destruction of infrastructure, including homes, schools, streets, and hospitals, leading to an unprecedented humanitarian catastrophe, making Gaza an unlivable city. The war on Gaza has no limits. Everyone and everything is a military target, even hospitals, ambulances, and healthcare professionals. During this war, the Israeli occupation army targeted several hospitals, which led to the killing of wounded and displaced Gazans who took refuge to escape the bombing of their own residential neighborhoods. The Israeli army also arrested several medical healthcare professionals, most notably the director of Al-Shifa Hospital, Muhammad Abu Salmiya, and some of his assistants.
ضربوا أول شيء المبنى المبيت للأطفال، الطابق الثاني وضربوا الطابق الأول وضربوا خزانات المياه، ضربوا الكهرب، ضربوا محطات الأكسجين، فانعدمت الحياة في مستشفى النصر.
Now the situation is very bad. We can see actually the smoke around the hospital. They hit everything around the hospital, and they hit the hospital many times. We don't want to stay in the hospital, but we want someone to give us the guarantee that they can evacuate the patient.
الإسعافات ما قدرت تيجي على المستشفى نهائي، إنها تاخذ المرضى وتاخذ المصابين الموجودين في الاستقبال. كان قناص بيضرب، ما قدرنا نطلع، ما حد يتحرك.
Due to the closure of crossings, the healthcare sector also suffers from a scarcity of medicines and medical supplies within pharmacies and operating health centers.
Hospitals are protected from attack under the Geneva Conventions, and there's very special protections in relation to hospitals, in relation to medical units, ambulances, hospital workers who are obviously civilians, and they're all protected against attack. So these direct attacks and these targeted attacks and indiscriminate attacks on hospitals are a violation of international humanitarian law, and they on their own amount to grave breaches of the Geneva Conventions and war crimes.
Of everything, we're short on supplies, we're short on medication. You've seen I've had to use vinegar to treat this wound infection.
Israel has ruled out allowing basic resources or humanitarian aid into Gaza until Hamas releases the hostages it abducted during the weekend attack.
And just like that, the Israeli occupation forces cut off water access to all innocent civilians. The number of victims of malnutrition and dehydration in the Gaza Strip is rising to the point of famine, and the severe scarcity of food, water, and medicine supplies is increasing rapidly. In addition, displaced people and residents are unable to maintain the hygiene necessary to prevent diseases. They are living in very deteriorating conditions and are even threatened by bombs inside shelter centers and while gathering for humanitarian aid.
calling for help urgently. Please do whatever you can through your government or the international, the ICRC, Red Cross, to arrange a safe corridor for the medical staff.
متنا من الجوع. أنا حارم ولاد اللقمة بقول لابني تاكل الشعبة.
قلت الأكل ماتت بنتي.
مش راضيين يدخلونا حمامات، بنقول لهم إن شاء الله وسخ، مش راضيين.
عددنا كأطباء هنا في الطوارئ ما بيتعدى ال5-6 أطباء، كل طبيب حرفيا بيمسك 10 حالات.
توقف الكهرباء يعني الموت المحتم لكثير من المرضى.
كيف مستشفى ما فيش فيها علاج مش فاهمة.
استهدفوا بالمركز اللي فيه طواقم اطفاء، لا سلاح، لا أي شغلة، لا يوجد تنسيق مع أي أحد. ناس مدنيين.
نحن نطلق نداء استغاثة عاجل لإنقاذ مجمع الشفاء الطبي.
3 أو 4 مرضى على سرير واحد، ما فيش سعة في المستشفى نهائيا.
each war starts where the previous war ended. And if this war ends at the killing of 8,000 children in 40 to 45 days, then the next war will be more brutal than this one. And it doesn't need to be in this region, it can be anywhere in the world.
Mommy, can this happen to us too?
We cannot turn a blind eye to genocide. Otherwise, there will never be justice anywhere around the world.
A powerful documentary that has been just released by Bisan. We welcomed Bisan in a previous meeting. I'm putting the link on in the chat if you'd like to see it again or you'd like to share it with friends. I mean, it's just the violence continues, the crimes continue, and sadly, it's many of the governments of what is called the free world or the democratic world are complicit. They share the weapons, they share the arms, and there is no justification. Very upsetting and very disturbing every time we follow and we hear the news that is coming out of Gaza. And we all feel very helpless. But that's not how we should be feeling. We strongly believe in the power of the people and in the energy that is among us. When people gather, we are able to move mountains and to plant real seeds of hope for everyone, especially for the people on the margins. For the people who received the Sabil newsletter and the Kumi newsletter, a statement came out. Sadly, when you think it cannot get worse, sadly, a group of Christian Zionists, together with radical Israeli Jewish extremists, who are eager to destroy the Al-Aqsa Mosque and build the third temple, thinking that this is going to contribute to pleasing God, or at least an understanding of God that they have, which is, I hope that this is not the same version of God. You know, I don't think that this is the way of peace and justice, is by demolishing a place of worship and slaughtering cows and taking part in rituals that I don't think that they are needed. There is a statement that came out by a number of both Palestinian Christians and also international Christian leaders and theologians, and we're asking everybody who is willing, everybody who is able, to please sign this petition and encourage others to sign it. If you have not already signed it, and that would be part of what we are going to move forward, encouraging people either to read the statement and so on. So it is Lily.
Hi, everyone. Yes, we will move into our time of doing actions together collectively. The statement that Omar is referencing is one that we've created, and it's regarding the initiative of the Temple Institute in Jerusalem. So I'm now going to copy and paste this link into the chat.
Lily, do you think it might be good if we read it together, the statement? It's a one page.
Yeah, Omar, would you like to read it, please?
Yeah, is there a volunteer? Because I've been speaking for, I don't mind. Maybe Mary Claire, would you? Can we share it on the screen?
Maybe I'll let Mary Claire
Yes,
unmute.
yes.
Sure, I can read. Happy to. So it starts with a verse from Psalm 122. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. May they prosper who love you. Joining together as Christians from the Holy Land and other parts of the world, we express our concern, dismay, and condemnation of Christian Zionist efforts to bring greater suffering and pain to Jerusalem. Any observer of events in the Holy Land today, a region including the State of Israel, the West Bank, occupied East Jerusalem, and Gaza, knows that its people are presently enduring great suffering. As Christians, we are called by our Lord to be peacemakers. We therefore condemn Christian Zionist efforts to promote greater war under the false banner of prophecy. We have seen news of efforts by the Temple Institute, by any measure an extremist organization aided by extremist Christian Zionists in the United States, to sacrifice what they claim to be a red heifer in the coming days. These groups claim that such a sacrifice is necessary to purify a priest who would then be designated clean to enter the Holy of Holies of the Jewish temple. This plan has many implications. It is part of the Temple Institute's plans, supported more by Christian Zionists than by fellow Jews, to build the third temple. The group's plans would require the relocation or destruction of Majd al-Aqsa, including the Dome of the Rock, within the Haram al-Sharif. Such a plan is not only a great affront to the hope of multi-religious coexistence in Jerusalem, but an invitation to regional, if not global, warfare. This plan, many years in the making, will transform the Israeli-Palestinian situation from being a political conflict into a religious conflict with no earthly solution. While filling believers with expectations for the future, prophetic hope also involves temptations. As Jesus says in Matthew 18:7 and Luke 17, verse 1, certain interpretations of God's will can be stumbling blocks for faith. This is especially true when Christians are convinced that God is so poor that God needs our help to create miracles on earth. We're called to test every spirit. It is clear to us that a manufactured, genetically modified heifer intended to promote violence and unrest is no miracle from God. As religious leaders, we are saddened to see the cynical self-interest at play in the relationship between the Temple Institute and its Christian Zionist supporters. Christian Zionist support for this plan is based on a warped Christian reading of the scriptures, premillennial dispensationalism, that expects the third temple to be desecrated by the Antichrist before the Messiah comes. We understand our Christian faith to teach that Christ alone is our sacrifice, once for all. Thus, the Temple Institute and its Christian Zionist supporters have developed a relationship based on mutually instrumentalizing and exploiting one another, precisely the opposite of the human relationships towards which we are called. In the face of this madness, we call on all persons of goodwill to condemn this plan by the Temple Institute to engage in a sacrifice of a so-called red heifer. Actions like this have been attempted in the past, but in vain. They accomplish nothing except for escalating hatred, instability, and violence. We especially call on Christians around the world to lovingly correct and reprove fellow Christians who have been deluded by any form of the imperialist, colonial, and war-promoting ideology of Christian Zionism. It is imperative that we inaugurate a global intra-Christian dialogue focused on the repudiation of Christian Zionism among other forms of political extremism. No religion, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam among them, has a monopoly on extremism. It is the responsibility of the faithful first to challenge extremists within their own tradition. Only then can we hope to build bridges with others. Today, the Christian Zionist promotion of further violence alongside what is credibly described as a genocidal assault on the people of Gaza presents an urgent challenge to Christians around the world. We reject, in the strongest terms, any effort to make Jerusalem into an apocalyptic playground. The anti-Jewish and anti-Semitic prophetic fantasies promoted by many Christian Zionists view the holy city as a place of war when God has called it to be a house of peace for all nations. We call on all persons of goodwill to educate themselves on peace-building measures for the people of the Holy Land. We affirm the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan's continued promotion, protection, and stewardship of the historic status quo of the holy sites in Jerusalem, especially in the face of coordinated international threats to this peace-preserving order. We urge all Christian leaders to consider the messages of the patriarchs and heads of churches in Jerusalem, as well as messages coming from civil society organizations in the Holy Land that seek to promote human rights, peace based on justice, and well-being for all people, rather than one group alone.
Thank you, Merikter. Lily?
Yeah. At this time, I would invite everyone to access this petition through the link that Ryan has shared in the chat. And once you've signed it, just drop in the chat that you've completed it so we can just see together our names coming together to collectively sign this, joining the names of Patriarch Sabah and many others that you can see have signed it already on the site. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and invite everyone to just take a minute to access that link. And then again, indicate in the chat once you've signed it.
And everyone is welcome to sign it. It is for all people of goodwill to sign it. You don't have to be a Christian. You don't have to be of a specific tradition. This is an invitation for all people.
Thank you, Carol, Sylvia, Hazel, Alice, Ryan, Valerie, those of you who are signing, Randy, and Donnie, Lynn. Yes, and as Debbie said, signed and shared, we would encourage this to continue to be shared. Also noting Alice's question in the chat, Omar, if the petition will be sent to someone in particular.
Yes, it is already being circulated in the media, and we want to tell the world that it's not all Christians are supportive of this insanity. Millions of dollars have been invested to bring to genetically modify cows, to transfer these cows into Jerusalem. They are already located in a kibbutz. They're already publicizing it into like a big show. They already have identified somebody from with a certain lineage coming to be the priest and who will sacrifice. It's a nightmare. That's the least thing that we need at the time of at the time of a genocide and a time of war and violence. This is another recipe for escalation and more unnecessary bloodshed. It's a shame, and it is being done in the name that this is will bring God's kingdom. I don't think that how could this be? How could this make sense? But that's the world that we live in, sadly, and that's why people who know better, we should work together and making a clear position.
So thank you to all of you who are continuing to sign it or committing to sign it once you log off the call today. And thanks, Mary Claire, for sharing the link again. At this time, we'll move on to our second action, which is the same as our action from last week, but we just want to continue to promote it to make sure all who are attending week to week get the chance to complete this. So it's the Churches for Middle East Peace letter to bishops that was issued at the end of March. And this was the call to action that was shared during our Holy Saturday Easter Vigil service. And many bishops and church leaders have signed this petition, but we are also, along with Churches for Middle East Peace and other organizations, inviting individuals to sign this as well. So I will reshare the link here and also give us just a few moments to designate to sign this petition or this letter. Then once again, I invite you, if you've signed it previous weeks, go ahead and drop in the chat that you've signed it, or if you're completing it now, indicate that as well. So I've just shared the link to this one. It's a Google form.
And I mean, some of you have already been following the news, in addition, that they have arrested again Layan Nasser. Randy and Auntie Samia are with us. I don't know if it's Randy. I remember. Randy. Auntie Samia.
Yes, Omar, I'm with you.
Yeah. Auntie Samia, do you have an update on Layan?
We don't know anything yet. I mean, they just came at home, raided the home at night, and they were very, very vicious with the gun on their head, and they just took her. So we don't know anything new yet. And they took another girl also from Brazil.
Yeah, we saw.
Yeah, I believe there were actually 8 people who were arrested that morning.
Yeah. Randy, you remember that you created an updated petition also.
Yes.
I think it's good to send an update to this letter, and we because already it has like around 10,000 people who have registered, and we could just give them an update of at least what we know, which we don't know much, but I think that we don't know much is by itself something that is frightening.
That was on change.org. I'll try and renew that if I can.
Well, yeah, you can send an update on this letter, and we can also share it again for people. I think that is just, if you want, also we can talk together and we figure out how to.
That would be great. Also, do you have any update on Save the Ark?
Yeah. Honestly, it's raining troubles and problems, sadly. Just something that is hopeful is that the community is resisting, and the community is refusing to be bullied by the settlers and the extremists and the police and the judges, and even the church leaders. I mean, it's with that are either complicit or too weak or are not doing much. So next week we are organizing a community gathering for all of the different churches. It is still Lent, and according to the Orthodox traditions. So we have a simple lunch, a vegan lunch dinner that we are all coming together. We're sharing this meal together at the Armenian Quarter, and they say that if they bring like 10 bullies with guns, we will be hundreds coming together to show that they will not intimidate us and they will not scare us. That's the beautiful resilience and energy that is among the young people. Shame on the church leaders that they leave these 18 and 19-year-old kids to deal with the problems that they have created or they are responsible for. But it's also a blessing to find so much energy among the young people who refuse to accept the current status quo and they want to do something about it. So these are amazing young people, and we hope that there will be 600 people will show up, and we will have a shared meal together, and we will pray together, and we will sing hymns together. And we say that we refuse to be intimidated, that we are a community. We have a presence in Jerusalem. This is our country, this is our homeland, and we will not be frightened. So please sign and share, and if you're able to get it to the media, if you're able to have it to your bishop, to your pastor, if you are a clergy and you preach, show it to your congregation, tell them, we need to do something about it. Please be annoying, annoying. If we ask the Pharisees, if we ask the Romans, they would say Jesus was annoying. So be like Jesus, be annoying, disturb their silence. And I know some of us can be really good. Some of us are really annoying, I know. So it's in a good way, I say it. So it's be annoying, make them frustrated with our presence. Be the stubborn widow. Get in trouble.
Okay, at this time, I just want to explain our final action of the evening before we move into the end of this call, which included in our newsletter is for those of you who are in Europe, there's a call this year to boycott Eurovision. And so the link that I'm now posting is a template of a letter to address venues that are screening or promoting Eurovision, asking them to cancel and host an alternative event instead. This is another example of something that we can boycott as far as the ongoing genocide in Gaza. So this is a letter that you can take and recontextualize in your communities and send it to those who may be relevant. So I'll just give one moment for that before I introduce our final part of the Kumi call this evening. So for the final 10 minutes today, we want to take some time to do an evaluation together as a Kumi community. As many of our activism and our sessions have looked different over the past few months, given the situation in Gaza, we have created a brief Google form that we want to share and encourage you all to fill out just to get a sense of how we can make Kumi now a more effective tool for education and action. So I'm going to share my screen with the survey now just to give you an idea of what it will look like. You can see this now. And then Ryan, or is someone else able to share the link to this? Thank you. Okay, so Ryan has just shared the link to the survey. So if you're able to also click on this link and take the next few minutes to fill this out. And in a similar way, we'll just ask you to share in the chat once you've done that so that we know who is completing it. The questions just include how often you've been able to attend the Kumi webinars, how often are you completing the actions, when do you complete the actions? So we want to gauge if it's most effective to complete them together while we're on these calls, or if you complete them when you receive the newsletter or after the fact. And like Ryan's just said in the chat, don't worry to scramble to complete this now, because we'll be including this, you'll have the chance to fill this out over the upcoming week. We also want to know what actions that you've been able to complete that are easy, whether that's in person and online. What is the most valuable part of Kumi for you? And then whether you're learning new things about Palestine from Kumi, and then just a bit about scheduling and then other events that are similar. So just a few questions. Yeah, once again, if you're able to complete it now, that's great. We'll just designate the last few minutes of our time together to filling out the survey. And if you have any issues of accessing the Google form or have any questions as far as the technical side, feel free to unmute yourself, and we can provide some assistance there. Thank you to those of you who thus far have indicated that you're able to complete it on the survey. We would just encourage you to continue to take a few moments to finish that for this week. And again, in our newsletter next week, we will include the links to the survey again, and also to the video that was shared during the beginning of the session this week. As Omar mentioned, BSEN is one of our partners, and so we want to be promoting this documentary that they've created and can be a powerful tool for advocacy and screenings and showing this and to promote it. And once again, share the petition, the change.org survey about the upcoming Christian Zionist demonstration. And yeah, continue to share these actions within your networks and with Kumi. And final note, just announcing that our Kumi session next week, we will have a speaker from Adamer. And so you can look forward to that. And we'll have new updates and actions for you next week as well. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you for those of you who have signed multiple petitions and forms tonight. And we'll be with you again next week. Thank you.